Hello everyone, and before we get started I just want to explain the reason behind this blog post. I just want to say that I appreciate the journey that has led to the 13 and a half months of breastfeeding that my son Michael and I have shared over the last 13 and a half months. I'm incredibly blessed and surprised that we made it this far, and we'll tell you we've had so many bumps in the road that I felt that this would be a good open to why I'm discussing this. So when I was pregnant, I had the perfect scenario in my head about our birthing experience outside of being induced and being on the epidural as prescribed by my doctor. I wanted the skin-to-skin, delayed cord clamping, breast crawl, the bonding time, really the whole shebang. So when everything happened, it ended up completely the opposite. When he finally came out, it began to bleed heavily to the point where they had to keep him out of the way to get it under control. And after about 20 to 30 minutes, he was finally in my arms for moments. Then he had to be moved to the nursery while I was moved to postpartum recovery. When I arrived there, the doctors wouldn't let me breastfeed my son due to the medications I was taking for epilepsy, even though I had it pre-approved, and took it throughout the pregnancy. I had to wait a couple hours to finally get the approval by the pediatrician, and by then I was already too late. So at that point my son refused the breast, but I was determined to give him the second best thing, exclusively pumping my own breast milk. However, I felt like a failure of a mother because my son rejected, and the failure turned into anger over time whenever I saw women breastfeed in public because I was jealous that I couldn't have what they did. Please excuse him in the background. I constantly tried to get him on the breast, even reached out to local lactation consultants that I could find with no luck. And for 4 months, every 2 hours, I would pump, change the diaper, feed, clean parts and bottles, and repeat the process without much of a break. And when my son went for his 4-month checkup, it showed that he didn't gain any weight. And the week before this appointment, my husband left for a short deployment. And between the stress of him leaving and me taking care of an infant on my own, the strict schedule of my pump sessions took a toll physically and mentally. Even my supply took a hit. The pediatrician more or less scolded me because of not gaining and was going to suggest formula and rice cereal. I was so upset. I went home and cried, literally bawling my eyes out. And later that evening, the pediatrician called me at home and asked that I come back in 2 weeks for a weight check. Reluctantly, I agreed. And 2 weeks came by and weight check showed that he had actually lost weight, and I was devastated. The nurse who performed the weight check asked me if I was interested in trying again to get him on the breast, and I agreed and remember saying that this was my last ditch effort. So I came back later that afternoon to make sure my breasts were full along with a bottle of breast milk to help in the process. And we went into the breastfeeding room the clinic provided every afternoon to work on latching with the nipple shield. Luckily, we were able to get him to latch without dripping milk, as well as ditching the nipple shield a few weeks later. And soon after, my son ditched the bottles altogether and pumping was put on the back burner, and still doing so to this day. Fast forward to recently when I heard about the local big latch-on here via a Facebook post by one of the organizers. However, one of the posts stated that including in the count were exclusively pumping mothers, nursing, supplemental nursing systems, but it excluded the moms who use donor milk in bottles or any artificial nipples, including the breast shield. The question was asked to the lead organizers, and were told that they wouldn't be able to verify if the bottles had breast milk or not. So let me get this straight. You can't verify the contents of a bottle if it has breast milk or formula. The SNS is allowed, but you won't be able to verify its contents. The Latch-On advocate that they're following the strict guidelines of the World Health Organization, even though the organizers won't provide the direct sources of their information. And as of writing and videoing this blog, I have not come across that donor milk or alternate delivery systems is excluded. In my mind, if a child is given breast milk via breast, SNS, and like in my early days, bottles and shields to assist in the latch of my own or donor milk, a child is considered breastfed. If the latch-on is allowing mothers to pump the breast milk and delivery by SNS, they should be allowed the delivery of said breast milk be included as participants. As a former EP mother, not allowing the donor milk mothers who receive and donate out of labor and love would be discriminatory against their efforts to provide other infants and toddlers optimum nutrition. Allowing the donor milk be counted will also bring more awareness for other ways and organizations dedicated of providing breast milk to those who want to breastfeed but can't for reasons outside of their control. Being a former EP mother, I felt like an outsider in the breastfeeding groups among friends who breastfed and even those who formula fed. With the current rules, they would make mothers feel even more worse than they can't produce, feed, or get their littles to latch. So they do the next best thing to keep. They do the best thing to keep their littles from formula at all costs. I seriously think the people who give their littles breast milk, whether theirs or donor, in any fashion, should be included in the count. I feel that including them would be a step closer to advocating the breastfeeding community and bringing forth awareness to programs such as Eat for Feets and Human Milk for Human Babies. So please, moms of breastfed babies, or even formula babies, if you feel the need to assist in this cause, let's work towards common sense. If you think these rules need to be more reflective of the times, please feel free to like and share. Share, and tell these people who run the latch-on that these rules need to be updated and changed. Thank you for listening, and I hope we can come closer to a common sense compromise.